extreme detail.
Of Southwestern University football here live at the Sheraton. How's everybody doing tonight? All right. Well, man, I got to tell you, the football season just comes and goes so quickly. We've already through another blistering summer, but ready to start a whole new season here at Southwestern. This is our second year here with SHN and Coach Joe Austin. Let's give it up for Coach Austin, by the way, folks. Well, for Southwestern, we'll quickly look back, Coach Austin, to last year. A winning season for the Pirates overall at 6-4, 5-4 in conference play, of course. Missing out on the playoffs, though. Finished both 3-2 on the road and at home. Southwestern averaged just over 440 yards of total offense, 219 on the ground, 224 through the air. The offense averaging a pretty good amount, 35 points per game last season. They allowed just 357 total yards. The defense under 100 rushing, 264 passing on the defensive side. The defense allowing 29.5 points a game. And the season for Southwestern started on a 2-game win streak, of course, with victories at Denison and McMurray, followed by a 3-game skid with losses at East Texas Baptist and at home versus Louisiana College. Then back on the road, of course, at the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. The Pirates had success the remainder of the season, winning 4 of their last 5 games, a victory at Sul Ross State, at home versus Belhaven, and then a loss versus Hardin-Simmons, followed by victories, that 2-game winning streak to end the season at Howard Payne and Texas Lutheran to close out the season. Coach, overall, I know a winning season last year, but the playoffs, that's ultimately the goal, to get to the playoffs and to win in the playoffs. But you've got to talk about very tough competition, though, in the ASC Conference. Your overall thoughts on last season, Coach? Maybe some things to learn from, some things to improve on, Coach.
It was a good season, and, of course, we're still making steps towards our ultimate goals and final goals and being at a championship level in the American Southwest and doing things like going to the playoffs. But we had some really good milestones last year, and that's our first time that we're in both the human polls, the D3Football.com media poll, the AFCA coaches poll. We're ranked by the computers as high as number 26. So we're still making a lot of strides, and to win 4 out of 5 at the end was really good. And so I think we left on a high note. I think our players felt well about how they were playing at the end of the season, and we were pretty tough at the end of the year. It was going to take you have to be a pretty good team to beat us at the end of the season. That 3-game streak in the middle of the year, we got beat up a little bit. We lost our quarterback for a while. We lost some other players, which were factors in it, but we felt we could have done a little bit better than we did. But overall, it was a good year. We hit some more milestones, and we kept the winning tradition alive. So now we have 1 junior college transfer in our program. Everyone else has had winning seasons their entire career. So our seniors, in fact, have a chance. I should know the exact number, a chance to be the all-time winningest class in Southwestern football. And that's not just since the rebirth. I went all the way back and looked in the first generation up through the 40s and 50s. I think if they win 6-7 more games, I think they'll either tie or have the most wins as a 4-year senior class.
Well, friends, can we give a round of applause again on that? Exciting times last year. I know, again, missing out on the playoffs, but as you said, Coach, a lot to really look forward to and dig into. You mentioned it earlier. I was going to bring it up. You finished the season 4 out of 5 games. Talk about the grit of these athletes, Coach, as they continue to grow and develop. You had a lot of freshmen that are now seniors that have been through all 4 years. Talk a little bit about their grit, Coach.
I'm always surprised in a pleasant way of how resilient our athletes are. But we work on that. We do a lot of things to train mentally as well as physically. But they're resilient. I think they really love playing football. I think they also can put football in perspective. I think they have enough things going on in their life with other things that they do as Southwestern students, with other things with their family, that they have a pretty good context on the results of a football game. It is really important to us, but at the end of the day, there are other things going on that are equally as important and even more important as far as, as I said, family and education. So I think them being able to compartmentalize our life and put things in context helps us bounce back. So we definitely celebrate the wins, and we feel bad about the losses, but we're able to put them both behind quickly and then move forward to whatever the next challenge is.
Well, Coach, several more questions here. One of them I want to ask, just talk a little bit about training camp this offseason. Of course, it's been hot outside. I was joking around at our Georgetown coaches show last night. I said, man, you could probably throw an egg out there on the carpet on the turf and let it scramble. But talk a little bit about the offseason and just some of the training camp and really some highlights from that here this past offseason, Coach.
I think the big story of this training camp is the schedule, in that last year we started at the earliest possible game date. We always start in Division II and Division III the first Saturday in September. And, of course, last year that fell on September 1st. That means we had the most possible time before school started to practice. So we had 2 weeks where there wasn't first-year seminar and orientation stuff for the new players. There weren't classes at all for the returning players. We had a long, really nice training camp. This year, the NCAA took 2 practice days away, and we also have our first game on September 7th, the last possible day. So we had a 1-day training camp before our new players went to class. And then we only had a week before and a day, so an 8-day training camp before our veterans went back to class. So we didn't have a lot of time for team building. We didn't have a lot of time for meetings. We had a really compressed schedule, which was challenging in a lot of ways. So hopefully we've done enough to be able to have enough time for football and have enough time for building the team and getting the unity to be where it is. But I think that for me is the headline. And we're not the only one. A lot of schools have the same schedule. They have really long orientation weeks. That can be a really big challenge logistically to build the football team.
Well, Coach, of course, a lot of veteran players on this team. We've lost some, though, and I'm just going to name one. And then, of course, I know that you've got some more that you can mention. But the leadership of Fred Hover at quarterback, what a record-setting career that he had at Southwestern University, winning a lot of honors for the ASC and even back, I believe, in the SCAC. So doing some great work with Fred as a senior, of course, no longer here at that quarterback position. Besides him, some other players, and if you wanted to talk a little bit about him as well, but talk about some of that other veteran leadership that has now graduated and moved on, some guys that we're going to miss out there on the field this season, Coach.
Well, we graduated last year 6 offensive players that were all conference at one point in their career. 3 offensive linemen, Noah Berlanga, James Smatt, David Alvin Quinton, our slot receiver Landry Bray, our tight end A.J. Daniels. And, of course, if you watch Southwestern football, you know Fred. In fact, he became like a one-word guy like Madonna. It was just Fred, right? Because everyone called him called him Hoover and whatever stuff all the time. So it was just Fred. So that's a big chunk of things that we need to replace. And the cupboard's certainly not bare. We have more returning all-conference players. T.J. Vela will be on tonight. David Brandenburg, I'm sure, will be on. Another one of our captains, returning all-conference players. Kalen Heim is coming back from his knee injury. We won't see him this game, but we'll see him hopefully early in the season. So we're going to be okay as we replace some things. We'll be a little bit different. I'm sure we'll talk about that as we go through. But what we do have, I think, is an important thing, is we have on our roster all 11 returning starters on defense. And I've never been a part of a team that didn't lose anyone. Now, the unfortunate thing is they're still 18 to 21-year-old men, so only 9 of them are going to be on the field this Saturday. The missteps are known to happen with this age group. But on our roster, and hopefully for Game 2, we will have all 11 starters from a year ago, which means they know what they're doing, they know where to be, they play really well together. And you ask about spring training and training camp, I get to enjoy watching those guys play because it's kind of roll out the ball, and just watch them go. They know where to go. They don't need to be coached a lot of things. It's details versus big picture stuff. And so I think as we replace 6 all-conference players on offense, we're going to hang our hat on the fact that I expect our defense to be really solid throughout the season.
Well, Coach, if it's – I don't want to give away any game plan, but can we talk about maybe some of the players that have now came in, some of those new roles? Do we know who's going to be at quarterback yet, or is that still kind of a situation that you guys are filling out? There's been some great offseason acquisitions. Maybe mention a few of those and who we can expect out there to fill some of those gaps, Coach.
Yeah, we know who we're going to have at quarterback. Austin Emery will be our starting quarterback, and he started a game last year against East Texas Baptist when one named Fred was injured. And he played in overall about 5 or 6 games, and he got a lot of experience. He got to go through the week, that ETBU week being the starter and knowing what it's like to deal with that pressure and deal with those expectations. So he had a really good offseason. I think the job wasn't handed to him. He knew he was going to have to compete. He knew we were going to recruit. He knew there would be other players on the roster that wanted to compete with him. But through spring football, he was clearly head and shoulders above our other guys. This fall, he continued to improve and get better. So we have a lot of confidence in him. I think our offense has confidence in him. I don't think they look at him as a new starter. I think since he played quite a bit last year and he started the game last year, I think they have a good amount of confidence with him. Coleman Kerr is another sophomore who has stepped up and done a great job. He wasn't really in the mix last year. He was just really learning, and he was on our scout team and playing in JV games. He's clearly our number 2 in that if Austin had an injury, Coleman knows what we're doing. When we played our scrimmage with Texas Wesleyan, Coleman played all but the last 6, 7, 8 plays. So it was his chance to play a ton of football, be out there with our first group and with our second group to see what he can do. He did a nice job. He threw a touchdown pass. He had a touchdown run. So we're feeling really good there. We have a third player that that we're going to be working with also, Landry Gilpin, who was probably our most notable recruit for as far as publicity and all those things. He was named Mr. Texas Football last year, so he comes with a lot of accolades. And what we're going to do with Landry is we have to make sure we teach him and develop into being a quarterback. So he has a small package for this game. And we hope to build his package a little bit each week. So rather than trying to teach Landry everything in a 2-day training camp, I mean, we had him for 1 day, then he went to school. We're going to teach him a few things. And if you can add a few things each week, pretty soon we get through the season, and he's got a really good chunk of our playbook or a lot of our playbook down. And he's obviously going to be a factor from an athletic standpoint. He's going to be it's going to be really good competition. So, I think Austin knows that he's got guys behind him. Coleman's pushing him, and Landry's going to push him. And I think that's going to allow us to be really good. We look at our quarterback position as any other position on the team. Even when Brian Hicks was here, both Brian and Fred were both all conference in the same year. They split time because they were both good enough to play. And so we're going to play as many guys as we need to. When Fred Hover was playing, if he ran a 30-yard run and he was tired, we take him out for a couple plays, and we let Austin Emery go in, and that's just what you do. We don't want to make too much of it or too little of it, but we're going to play who we need to play, and we're going to do things that fit each player's style. And I think our combinations of guys will be really productive.
Coach, one word that we hear a lot about in football and even in organizations, at SHN, we call it our SHN family. It's our culture. I kind of wanted to ask you this season. We didn't talk about it last year, but really how would you define the culture going into this season? What's the overall culture? Maybe some words that you would describe this team this year, Coach.
Too early to say. We'll find out. I mean, it's something we're always working on. We have high standards. We have a standard performance manual that we outline as far as here's what we want to do when we're on the road, and here's what we want to do when we're in meetings, and here's where we want to sit in class. And it's detailed, but it's detailed because there's so many moving parts in our program. When we get our team meeting room filled with 113 players and 12 coaches, that's a lot of people. So if you don't have some structure to all those moving parts, it's just total chaos. So when we get on the airplane tomorrow with a travel party of 79, they have to pretty much know how we're going to operate and what we're going to do and what we're going to wear and how we're going to communicate so it doesn't become chaos. And so I think that part of building culture with a college football team is building in your structure. And, of course, you have to retrain folks every year. But that's a good question maybe to ask me midseason of how we're doing. It is a challenge this year. We like to do a lot of things during training camp for team development and team bonding. We like to get our new players incorporated. We'll do fun games after practice. We'll do icebreakers at meetings where players have to stand up and tell us about each other. We learn names. But the big thing is guys get comfortable talking and being a part of the group and being involved. We didn't get to do a lot of that this year. It was just the nature of the schedule. Next year, this calendar moves back a day, so we'll have a 2-day training camp before they have to go to school. But we'll learn to adapt, and we'll get better as coaches, and we'll continue to work on our team building.
Joe, Coach, just a couple of actually, just one last question here as we continue this first segment, or as we end this first segment. Just your final thoughts. You've talked a lot about this postseason. We talked a lot about last season as we segue, here into the upcoming game. But just your final thoughts overall on everything that's going so far here.
Well, I think we're proud of where we've come, especially from where we started. But I don't think we're satisfied. I know that I'm not satisfied. But I think to set having winning seasons every year as our low bar, I think, is a good standard to have and a good expectation to have. And to have winning seasons in our conference it's really tough to do. There's 5 teams again last year that were in the top 25. The year before there were 6 teams that were in the top 25, and so it's a pretty rigorous schedule. And we like where we are, but I think we want to do more, and I think our players understand that, and hopefully they'll have an understanding of what they need to do to get us there.
Well, friends, we will continue the same structure we had last year, the same flow. We'll talk to Coach at first. We'll interview a couple of players. We'll talk about what's going on throughout Southwestern, and then we'll bring Coach back on for the fourth and final segment as we look ahead to the upcoming game. For now, though, we'll step aside. We'll take a quick break. One more round of applause for Coach Joe Austin. Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you. And we will step aside, take about a minute break. We've got some players that we'll talk to. Stay with us. SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues on the SHN Sports Broadcast Network. We'll be right back. Well, friends, welcome back as we continue the SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. It's not Coach Joe Austin right here next to me. It's now Josiah Minifield, the senior defensive back. Let's give it up for Mr. Josiah Minifield.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I told Josiah when he walked up here a while ago, this guy is always smiling. He's always laughing. He's always having a good time. And I said, man, you know what? If you're ever having a bad day, just be around this guy. It is hard to not smile around him. Can anybody testify to that? Come on.
Yes,
so,
sir.
all right, man. Well, Josiah, of course, we had an opportunity, very blessed last year, to talk to you here on the Coaches Show. You brought the energy. I think you're bringing it even more now as a senior, man.
Yes, sir. I got to.
But as growing up, you know, out of Chandler, Arizona, you played high school ball over at Brophy. Is it pronounced Brophy?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Brophy. So it's like Trophy, but Brophy.
Yes, sir.
That's because you got all your friends. You got your bros with you, so it's Brophy. So that's why they call it Brophy.
Yes, sir.
Brophy College Prep High School. Of course, are you still majoring in communication studies? That's
yes,
where we're at
sir.
last year, minoring in Spanish.
Yes, sir.
Can you do any Spanish for us?
I mean, I can, but
Could you say hello? Could you say hello? How is everybody doing today in Spanish?
that's too much pressure. I can do it off the
Okay,
set.
off set, okay.
we have a conversation about it, but yeah.
Well, hey, I got to put you on the spot, Josiah. Well, hey, man, a lot of accolades, too. You know, Southwestern is a school just tremendously full of so many gifted athletes, such as yourself,
yes,
Josiah. We talk about a young man here to my right that's been on the Dean's List, the Director of Athletics Academic Excellence Award. Give him a hand for that. I mean, just impressive academics that you've been a part of. And if I'm not mistaken, 5 siblings.
Yes, sir.
5 siblings. What was that? Where are you at in the mix of those siblings, age-wise?
So I'm the youngest boy. There's an older 3, and then there's a younger 3, and I'm the youngest boy, but I have a little sister. So
did you?
I'm one of the babies. Yeah.
One of the babies. All right. Any other babies here in the house? Anybody? There was one. There's a couple here. I was a baby in my family, man.
Yes, sir.
But did you get a lot of attention being the youngest boy?
Not really. I kind of created the attention. I'm not gonna lie. I'm always been a social butterfly and one to always like spark conversation with all different kinds of people. So I've always brought the energy and brought the quote unquote attention.
Awesome,
so,
man. Well, I tell you, we're gonna figure out a way how to patent that, bottle it up. We're gonna sell it, and everyone in here is gonna invest, and we're gonna be just fine, man.
It sounds good. Well,
as we continue to talk to Josiah Minifield, of course, we talked to you last year as a junior, now a senior. You've been at Southwestern. You came in on your freshman year. Was that right?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
What has that journey been like for you throughout your entire career here playing ball at Southwestern. Talk a little bit about that, man.
Okay, well, man, it's really been a blessing overall, just because just to be able to see myself and my family, and as we've all grown and evolved through this whole process, it's just been a blessing in itself. But just coming in from, this isn't my hometown. I'm from Chandler, Arizona, so just coming in, out-of-state kid, just looking to do what I need to do and find a way to make plays and get on the football team and make plays and just do the best that I can for the team. And that's always how it started. And even now, I've always thought of myself as a leader and just did little things here and there and did what I can to really put myself in the positions to lead. But with the blessing of my coaches and my teammates, I've been able to be put in a position to be a captain and a leader. And that's what college football is about, really. Just making those connections and being the best leader that you possibly can.
Man, that is awesome. I'm going to give you a clap for that. I like to clap a lot, man, and that's what it's all about, man. When you talk about growing up in Arizona, and we see here at Southwestern a lot of recruits from just right here in the state of Texas. Texas, you can drive from one point to another, and it's a 9-10 hour drive, and you're still in the state. So for you being out of Arizona, pretty unique situation in some ways if you look at it, because like I said, a lot of the recruits are from here in the state of Texas. Talk a little bit, though, about growing up in Arizona and then how your journey led you here to Southwestern.
Yes, sir. Well, Arizona, it's really just hot, and there's always stuff to do in different states you go. But everybody always talks about how hot it is in Arizona, and so I went to Brophy College Prep. It was a really highly acclaimed school down in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've always wanted to go to Texas just because started probably like 4 years before I ended up actually coming over here. I went to a Believers Convention in Dallas, Fort Worth. In that area. And so, I fell in love with the state from the moment I've been here. And, luckily Coach Austin came down to my school, and he ended up meeting with my head coach. And then they took me out of class. When all the kids start getting offers and stuff, you get taken out of class. So, I was feeling pretty high and mighty about myself. So I was very, very happy to be in that position. He offered it to me. And, it was where I wanted to go. And I was just extremely happy, and I was able to come out here and take a visit, and pieces fit together, and I'm here now. So.
Well, you mentioned earlier, now being a senior, of course, you talked a lot about leadership, and that was it's kind of cool that you mentioned that, because that was my next question leading in is, you've already answered it. The question was, do you feel that you have more of a leadership role? Since you've already answered that, you're a team captain.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
about what that leadership role to you means and the way that you mentor and take care of other guys on your team this year.
Yes, sir. Well, for me personally, it's looked a lot different and a lot more involved in my teammates, not only lives, but just in their well-being in general. Being a captain means everything to me. It really started as me just, making sure guys are on top of their task and on top of what they need to do and where they need to be. But, this year especially, it's transformed into making sure that guys are okay and making sure that we are, becoming more transparent than anything and being open to be able to connect in a new way and to be able to now not only strengthen that bond, but be able to strengthen, our own talents and be able to feed off of each other and grow from there.
Well, Josiah, we don't want to hang out in the past too long. We've got another exciting season coming up here.
Yes,
this Saturday it starts, let's be honest. You guys have already started in training camp. But I did want to ask you, even though a winning season, it was still a tough season, didn't make the playoffs. But I wanted to talk to you and just ask your thoughts overall on last season. A lot of takeaways from that season, but maybe mention a couple of the high things and then a couple of the low points, and then we'll be happy and move on to this season, man.
Yes, sir, most definitely. Well, last season was very interesting. We started out pretty hot, and, everybody was real excited and real looking forward to where we were going. And when we started hitting a couple bumpy trips in the road, it really showed the character of the team and people's resilience, coming towards the end of the season now to be able to fight back and get back to who we are as an organization and as a program. So at the end of the year, it really showed that. But, that only made me and the guys who were before us even more hungry to be able to go out here and do the best that we can, because our freshman year we did ended up winning the conference championship, and there hasn't been a feeling like it, and I don't think there ever will be until we get back to being on top. So that's always where my goal is, and that's always where we're headed as a team and where we're headed as a defense especially.
Josiah, talking about this post or preseason, if you will, the off season.
Yes, sir.
Training camp. What are your takeaways? What has been some of the great points of training camp this season, and what's been exciting about that? Because I know that you guys are so happy to be in training camp,
yes,
right?
Sir. Yeah, I mean it's great that it's over with, honestly. But training camp was a real learning experience, not only for us, but everybody, honestly. And we really found out a way to make it work with such the tight schedule that we had with the freshmen that we had coming in, and just being able to see each other's personalities develop on the field and be able to learn the calls and be able to learn how to work together so fast. It's really been quite amazing, honestly, how little time we've had, because we've had so much time in the past, and I didn't even realize it until we go into this season. But I'm really proud of the guys and the way that they've been able to come together and really work, and as fast as they possibly can with this little amount of time we've had.
Let's talk a little bit about the defense. Just a few more questions here,
Yes,
Josiah,
sir.
before we let you go. Talk about your defense, specifically the chemistry heading into this new season. What are you seeing out
Yes,
there?
sir. Really just a whole bunch of guys who love each other and are willing to go that extra step and that extra mile to be able to be successful. So really, I'm really, really, really excited. I'm positive this is the fastest defense we've ever had, and probably one of the most energetic and most trash talking at the same time as well. We always love to get each other hyped and get each other amped up during practice, and I can't wait to see that translate onto the field on Saturdays.
Well, that segues into this question as we continue to talk to Southwestern defensive back Josiah Minifield. We look ahead now to Sewanee. What's the game
Yes,
plan?
sir. Really go out there and do us, really. It's no, in my opinion, it's no mistake that, we're going over there to them to be able to do exactly what Southwestern football is and be able to take care of our business. So I'm more than confident. I'm more than ready, and I know our guys feel the exact same way.
With your leadership role on the defense, what are some things that you've told your guys heading into Saturday's game?
Yes, sir. Just to make sure we handle the little things, to make sure that we stay on top of our task and be able to do our things. And if you make a mistake, make it full speed, because somebody else can cover for you. And just everybody do your 1/11th, and that's how we're going to be successful.
Final two questions here as we wrap up.
Yes, sir.
Senior, man, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Did it happen fast?
Man, it's been the fastest thing. I don't even know a word for how fast it's been, but it's been extremely fast. It's just crazy thinking about it coming in here my freshman year, even being able to get on the show. Then I was so nervous and stuff, and now I'm just like, well, now I'm here with the crew, so let's get it. So.
All right, man, let's get it. Where do you want to be after college?
Yes,
Now
sir.
we can really ask that
Man.
question. Where do you want to be after this season? After you're done, man?
Well, I want to be conference champions. That's first and foremost. Let's take care of that. But honestly, that's a great question. I'm still figuring that out myself, honestly, whether I'm going to stay here in Texas or go back home to be with my mama in Arizona. So
Awesome, man.
get back to you after the season.
Is mom watching tonight?
Yeah, most definitely.
She's shedding a
Hey,
tear
Mama.
right. She's shedding a tear right there. Speaking of that, we'll lead into the last question. Camera's right there on you. First coach's
sir.
show of the season, first SU football
Man.
weekly of the season. That means there's 1.8 million people watching right now on that camera lens. Who do you want to say hello to tonight? A little shout out here for Georgetown.
Of course, say hello to my mama and everybody back home in Arizona, and Amy and Adonis, my girlfriend and my beautiful baby boy. Just want to say I love you guys and thank you for supporting me.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give it up one more time for Josiah Minifield? Great young man. Thank you for being here, Josiah. We'll step aside. We'll take a quick break. One more player to interview. Stay with us, friends. SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues here in a moment on the SHN Sports Broadcast Network. We'll be right back. We're back here live from the Sheraton Hotel in Georgetown, Texas. This is SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. I'm Rob Hipp, now honored and privileged to sit alongside TJ Vela, the senior offensive lineman. Let's give it up for TJ. Well, TJ, a senior from Odom, Texas. Now, I was just asking, we didn't talk to you on the coach's show last year.
No, sir.
But you and I have chatted a little bit in between, and so it's good to finally have you on the show, man.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here. You know, I've always loved doing stuff like this. I think Coach Austin knows that. I'm a big wrestling guy, so I love like guys like Ric Flair, Randy Savage, like those guys talking in front of the camera like that. So I'm really big into these kind of things.
Awesome, man. I'm gonna take the headset down. I'm gonna step over, and then you just interview yourself, and then you're gonna do the show. Is that cool?
That's good. I'm going to do that all day long, and I'm going to make sure to do it right and perfect all the time.
Just like that. I'm seeing, you know,
there we go,
just
man.
like that. Just like that. It's easy.
TJ, you're making this way too easy, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, hey, from Odom High School, I'll be honest, I've broadcast down in the Corpus area in Sinton, but and it's outside of Robstown, I believe, in
Yes,
that
sir.
area.
It's a little bit north of Robstown.
I've never heard of Odom in all that time. Talk a little bit about Odom before we really look into more of your career here at Southwestern, man.
Yeah, so Odom, Texas, better known simply as the O. It's a small town, 20 minutes north of Corpus Christi, a little bit less than 2,000 people. It's a really tight-knit community, and when you play sports down there, you kind of play every sport. So I played football, baseball, basketball, did track, played some golf, and it's a town where everybody knows everybody. And so especially when your mom's a teacher there at that high school, you can't really get away with much. So I enjoyed my time at Odom, but I'm really glad to be up here in Georgetown at Southwestern.
Well, awesome. Well, you're majoring in business. Is that correct still? And
Yes,
still
sir.
minoring in communication studies?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Well, just as we talked to Josiah with just the academic accolades and the awards, you've got quite a few yourself, young man, of course, on the SCAC honor roll back when the SCAC was rolling there. Mm-hmm. You were on the Dean's List from 2016 all the way through 2019, the Director of Athletics Academic Excellence Award from 2017 to 19. I got to take a breath. ASC All-American Academic Team and the ASC All-ASC Second Team of Offense. Man, let me give you a round of applause for that. That is tremendous, young man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We talk about, and I say it every time, Southwestern, just the academics goes hand in hand with the athletics. Talk a little bit about that for a second, because it's a very unique situation with Southwestern and how much you guys focus on your studies and take care of business.
Oh, without a doubt. So, like, normally you'd think of a college athlete, you know, they're student athletes. In Division III, and especially at Southwestern, we really focus on that student aspect a lot more than that athlete aspect. We put a lot of time towards the athlete, but that student, in terms of, like, studying, getting all your work done, going to class, not skipping, that's a big aspect of the D3 education, especially here at Southwestern. Something Coach Austin harps on a lot, and a lot of guys take to. If you don't take to it, you might not get through it because it's really rigorous. It's really tough. But the guys that do, they make it through, graduate in 4 years, and have a pretty well set after that.
Now, Josiah had 5 siblings. I believe you have a sister, right?
I have one sister, Maddie Vela.
So you and her, talk a little bit about your sister, man. Since it's only, we couldn't ask Josiah to do that because he'd still be talking since he has 5. We'll let you talk about your sister, man.
Without a doubt. Madison, I'm just going to talk right to that camera. I love you. I love the young woman you're becoming. Keep working hard. Keep working hard in school, in the weight room, on the volleyball court. She's a great softball pitcher. Every time she goes out there, she does something incredible. I love watching her. I love seeing what you do, Madison, all the way from up here. I love you. I keep working hard.
Awesome, man. Had to give her a little shout-out. Well, a lot of these questions are going to be phrased very similar to when we just talked with Josiah, especially here on the first coach's show of the season. Mm-hmm. You as well, a senior. You've been here. You were here in the SCAC championship year.
Yes, sir.
You move on to the ASC. Just as I asked Josiah, what has this journey, TJ, been for you here at Southwestern, young man?
You know, it's been awesome. I never would have expected when I signed on that dotted line my senior year of high school where I'd be at right now. I never would have expected the people I would have met, the things I would have experienced, and the joy that I've had here. My family and I are extremely grateful for this university, the coaching staff here, and everything it's done for me, really. So, I mean, looking back my freshman year when we were in that conference, we had a great group of senior guys that really showed us the way, showed us how to be good teammates, good leaders, and I'm hoping to do that for some young guys coming up because that's a part of your legacy and what you leave behind.
Well, that transitions perfectly into the next question. Now as a senior, on the offense, a lineman, your leadership role, do you feel that you have more of a leadership role now as a senior, and really how do you communicate and talk to the underclassmen on that offense?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been working on my leadership roles ever since really my sophomore year on the offensive line, in terms of just talking to the guys, making sure they're feeling comfortable. But like, especially now in my senior year, I'm really focusing on those young guys, getting them going with steps, working on their assignments, techniques, and then outside of football stuff as well, like with schooling, how they needed to approach certain social situations, different things like that. Because, I mean, everything on the football field is great, but we only get 4 years of football. We have that life after football where we have to be good men, great husbands, great fathers. And so that's what I'm trying to help them with as well.
Hey, well, you're a team captain as well.
Yes,
Describe that role. That's an honor to be a captain on the team. Describe a little bit about that role and what that means to you and your teammates.
Yes, sir. I'm extremely honored to be a team captain this year on the football team. Honestly, like, just to be in that select fraternity of guys, such a small group, Justin Broussard, Nick Kelly, DJ Johnson, to be in that group of guys who have been captain on this football team, it means so much to me. And so with my leadership role in terms of that, I'm just trying to help these guys just continually get better, trying to be the lead by example kind of guy, show up early, stay late. And so that's how I'm trying to approach this captain's role.
Well, just as we talked to Josiah also last season, of course, a winning record, but missing out again on the playoffs.
Yes,
what
sir.
was going through your mind there at the end of the season, and what preparation did you take? You know, after that last game of the season, you left on a 2-game winning streak, so some positive takeaways there. But talk a little bit about some of those maybe things to work on from your perspective, and then some things that you really want to see improvement, and some things you were happy about last season.
So I had I had the opportunity to watch my team from the sideline last year. I tore my ACL so in the first game on the 8th play. Didn't get a chance to play after that. So I got to see a lot of the guys and how they responded in certain situations of the game where they might not realize how they responded in terms of certain things. So we ended the season great, but last season. We're here right now, and we're trying to win this week. So.
And I was going to ask you, you already answered that question. I wanted to mention that injury last year. So now working through that, you still had a leadership role, being able to talk to guys. So this year, assuming we're going to see you out there playing this year, you're going to get some play time.
Yes, sir. Hopefully. If Coach Austin lets me, we'll see, though.
It's guaranteed. So he said that like the Men's Warehouse, I guarantee it.
Yes, sir.
So awesome, man. Well, and just your role last year, I did want to just ask one more question on that, because with those injuries and not being able to play, what was your role there communicating with your guys and trying to keep them lifted up? Talk a little bit about that, TJ.
Yeah, so it was more of a vocal role. Couldn't really do much physically anymore. So it was more of helping out the linemen in terms of just what I saw on the sideline, what they're seeing, what I would have done in that certain situation, and then just trying to keep guys up on the sideline when adversity hits. And then also there was other knee injuries last year. We had 3 other knee injuries with Kalen Heim, Mason Biggers, and Seth McCrum. So like with those guys and us doing rehab, I kind of took on a leadership role with them in terms of getting them to rehab, making sure they're doing their work. And without those guys, I don't know how I would have got through that process, because that was a grueling process. It was a long 7 months. So, I mean, I'm glad that – I'm not happy that they got hurt and were there with me, but those guys definitely kept me going day in and day out.
Well, as we look ahead of the offseason, training camp this year, your takeaways from your perspective on that?
We've gotten so much stronger, so much faster. Coach Norcott, it was his first full offseason with us, and he did a fantastic job. He's from Boston. He's real blue collar. I don't know if a lot of y'all know him, but he's awesome. Awesome guy. Very intense, but we love him. He tells it how it is, and he really helps us to become the best that we can be. So in terms of like our strength and conditioning, we're ready for this season for sure.
Well, on the offensive side, some changes. Defense staying intact, but some changes on the offensive side this season with a lot of departing seniors. Talk about the chemistry of that offense and some of your takeaways from this season. You get to play with some new guys. What's that going to be like?
It's going to be cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure everyone else is looking forward to it and seeing how we do. The offensive line, we're a tight-knit group. We've all played with each other at one point or another, so there's a lot of good chemistry there. And then getting used to the new quarterback, that was happening in spring. So, I mean, training camp was just icing on the cake in terms of that, because we were getting used to Ace back in spring. So, I mean, there should be no turnover in terms of all that. So we should be okay.
Well, as we look ahead to Sewanee taking a plane trip, a bus trip, it's going to be a lot of traveling. What's the game plan for you, man?
For me, I'm going to get on the plane. We're going to go to we're going to Olive Garden on Friday. We're going to go to Olive Garden. We're going to go back to the hotel. We're going to have some Jimmy John's, I think. We're going to wake up in the morning, have some breakfast, and we're going to have a great game against Swanee. We're going to come back to the hotel, celebrate a little victory, hopefully, and get on the plane, come back, and get ready for next week.
What is I like that answer, man. Come on, who likes to eat? Can we clap on that? I think I've gained like 15 pounds. I need to come work out with you guys, man. From
my mom's going to get on me. She's going to see that the camera, it adds a couple more than 10 pounds. So she's going to say something about that. I already know.
Well, talking about, right out of the gate, last year, of course, the team traveled, and I'll talk to Coach Austin about travel more in the final and fourth segment, but
yes,
I wanted to ask you from a player's perspective. Last year, there was some travel. There was a couple of long games, but it was all within the state.
Sure.
This year, of course, having to fly out. From you as a player, what's the preparation like on that? Because you guys are leaving tomorrow morning early,
yes,
and
sir.
then from there it's just game time, focus time. What's going through your mind on those long travel plans like that?
So the first thing we got to do on the long travel days, we have to go to our professors on Friday and ask them, can we please miss class on Friday because we have a football game on Saturday that's far away and we got to go. That's the big part of the student-athlete aspect. But,
what if they say no?
If they say no, I'm going to be like, Coach Austin said, you got to talk to him at this point. It's not up to me, please. But no, travel stuff like that, it's cool because there's a group of guys that have flown before, done trips like these, and you have the new guys who have flown before, haven't flown before, but have never really done something as extensive as this. So this is going to be a big test in terms of not just the first game, but a first travel experience for a lot of guys in doing this kind of thing. But we do things like mental training in terms of like, what if the plane runs out of fuel, midair or something like that? What are we going to do? But we're definitely ready for this. We've been preparing for this, and we're going to be good to go on Saturday.
All right, man. Well, sounds like you're starting to get your ducks in a row, man.
Yeah, I'm always ready.
All right, man. I had a couple last questions here. We may just wrap it up with that, TJ. Now, majoring in business, where do you want to be after college, man?
So I'm graduating in December, so I have a couple options because I tore my ACL last year. I have another year of eligibility. I spoke with Coach Austin about this. My first option would be go to graduate school. I want to get my MBA and play football there as well. So that's my first option. Second option, go get a job, a full-time job. I want to work in sports sales and marketing. And so I've done some internships with the Round Rock Express, the Corpus Christi Hooks, the Houston Texans to prepare me for those kind of experiences and those full-time jobs that I'm hoping to get in the next upcoming months. So that's the plan right now.
Awesome. Finally, before we let you go, we'll look at this camera right here straight away. Who do you want to send a shout-out to tonight? You've talked to your sister.
Yeah, I've talked
Who do you
to
want to
Maddie
send
V
some
already.
love to, man?
All right, it's going to be a little long because I got a lot of people to thank. First, shout out my mom, my dad, my grandma. I love you. My grandpa, I know if you were here right now, you'd be watching. I love you. I always keep you in my heart. Shout out my Oda Mouse. They're going to play on Saturday night against Mathis Pirates. Go take a dub. Shout out the Big Body Brand, the offensive line, because it is Thick Man Thursday at Whataburger tonight. We will be there. And Greg, have all the fries ready. It's going to be awesome. Come through. And, yeah, just shout out all my boys, Tate, Blair, Max, Devin Shaw. Shout out all my boys.
Well, Josiah may have his work cut out for him. I thought he was bringing the energy, man. You may have taken it up, Josiah. You better watch out, man. Hey, well, I did want to ask you one last question. You've got a necklace on, man.
Oh, yes,
I wanted to ask you the representation of that, man.
So this longer one, this is the chain I've always had since my freshman year of high school. The first one, this pendant I have right here, it's one my mom got me my freshman year with this chain. The circle is the my intent word kind of thing. My mom got it for me at the beginning of the year, so she asked me what was my word for the year, and the first word I told her was comeback, because I was still in that rehab process with Dr. Benavides. He's here right now. Thank you. I didn't shut you out. Thank you for all you've done for me, doctor. I really appreciate you. I love you. Comeback because I want to come back this year. I want to do the best that I can and help this team win. And then 53, that's my number. And then the shorter chain, this was my grandpa's chain. Like I said earlier, he's not with us anymore, but I always carry him around my neck anytime I really can. And the heart remembers, that's what the chain says. On the back has Popo. I called him Popo. And the day he died, which is April 11th, 2019. So I'm always keeping him with me in my heart, and I know he's going to be watching on Saturday in the best seats in the house.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, one last question. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. 53, that's one of my favorite numbers besides number 9.
Oh, see,
number
look at
9,
this.
Number
Number
9
1 on the field, number 53 on the field, number 1 in this heart.
I say this right here because I grew up watching Herbie.
Herbie. Who's
Herbie. There's the love bug was 53.
I don't know where
So
Herbie is.
So what's your nickname on the team? We may have to call you Herbie, man.
I mean, my nickname's T. Everyone calls me T. I got a lot of nicknames.
We'll call him T. Herbie.
Yeah.
How about that, man?
That's fine right there.
All right, well, let's give it up for TJ Vadel. Thank you for being here, TJ. Great interview, young man.
Appreciate it.
Well, we'll step aside. We'll take a quick break. We'll look more around what's going on at Southwestern University. We'll thank some of our generous sponsors. Stay with us, friends. SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues in a few moments here on the SHN Sports Broadcast Network. We'll be right back. Again, friends, thanks for joining us here on the live stream tonight. Also, all of those here at the Sheraton. Round of applause for the Sheraton. Thank you, guys. And thank you for the visitors, for everybody that came out. Real quickly here in our segment 3, just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on at Southwestern University throughout the athletics department. Women's soccer underway. Mary Cardone was named the SCAC Women's Soccer Defensive Player of the Week for Week 1 after guiding Southwestern to a 2, and I say guiding, really just getting them out there big time. 2-0 record to open the season, totaling 12 saves and 2 shutout victories. Southwestern resumes play this weekend at home with a match against East Texas Baptist University. That taking place on Saturday, September the 7th, coming up at 7:30 p.m. Let's give a round of applause for Mary. Congratulations, Mary, on your accolades in soccer to start. On the flip side, men's soccer opened the season on August 30th, a 1-1 double overtime draw. No winner in that game, hosting Mary Hardin Baylor on Sunday, September the 1st. They suffered their first loss of the season, 1-2 versus Concordia. Action resumes Friday, that taking place versus Hudson-Tillotson University over at the Round Rock Multi-Sport Complex. 2 other quick notes here from Southwestern University. In men's cross country, freshman Noah Dennis and sophomore Nathan Batros, I believe. Did I say that right? Is it Batros? I believe it is. Won the first and second place in the Tornado Watch Invitational 5K at the Williamson County Park. Dennis, an Austin native, wasted no time making his mark in his first collegiate race with a time of 16:42, averaging 5:22 a mile. Not too far behind him. It was Dennis, a sophomore. It closed in second place with a time of 17:10, average 5:31 a mile. Up next, men's cross country will prepare to compete in the Saints Invitational at Our Lady of the Lake University. That taking place in San Antonio on September the 21st. Also, the women's cross country underway as well. Southwestern freshman Emma Petruitt showed her medal as she placed third in the Tornado Watch Invitational 5K Williamson County Park on August the 30th. The women's team also competing in San Antonio at the Saints Invitational as well on September the 21st. Of course, for more information, you can always go to southwesternpirates.com for more information on that as well. Let's give a round of applause for those athletes also in cross country. Congratulations. You guys keep working hard. The best is always yet to come. Before we bring Coach Joe Austin back up here, very quickly, wanted to talk over some of our sponsors here. There is a lot of them this season. I'll go through them quickly, but we want to make sure that they get their due accolades. Gary Brown CPA, John F. Lewis CPA. A little battle there of the CPAs on the sponsorship. I know Gary and John both. Thank you for your sponsorship. Is John here tonight? He comes to some of the coaches' show. John, there he is. John, thank you for your support. Let's give him a round of applause. I always say if you're here and I see you, I'm gonna call you out. So thank you for being here, Mr. Lewis. State Farm, Stephanie Featherstone, BBVA, First Texas Bank, Our Bank, Texel Credit Union, Don Hewlett Chevrolet Buick, Antioch Georgetown Church, Grooveline Productions, DJ Patch Black, Boomtown Escapes, Primerica Financial Solutions, Upstream Investment Partners, Stansky's, Georgetown Shirt Company, HEB, Family Emergency Room, St. David's Georgetown, Eagles Wings, the Sheraton Austin Georgetown Hotel and Conference Center. Thank you, Sheraton. Appreciate you guys. for allowing us to be here again. The Georgetown Palace Theater, Chisholm Trail Pediatrics, Minuteman Press, Waterboy Graphics, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Roger Chappell. There he is back there, Roger. Thank you again, Roger. Appreciate you. We also want to thank Georgetown Commercial Properties, Turnip Seed Real Estate Group, Chick-fil-A, Double Dave's Pizza. This is the part where I start getting hungry. Mama Foos, they're all grouped together. Mighty Fine Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, Monument Cafe. Anybody hungry yet? Anybody out there? Monument Cafe, appreciate them. Rudy Schlotzsky's Whataburger, CJ's Catering, our friends at Wolf Ranch, Georgetown Title, hello@georgetown.com, and the website Mojo, and also the city of Georgetown. That's a lot of them. I wanted to go through them. We sincerely appreciate your generous support in making what happens with Southwestern Athletics possible. Thank you again to those sponsors. Let's give them one more round of applause, folks. We'll step aside for a quick break. When we return, the fourth and final segment as we look ahead to Tennessee. We'll be right back. This is SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin here on SHN Sports. Friends, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with head coach Joe Austin. As Coach Joe Austin returns here at the table as we look ahead to Sewanee Tigers this upcoming Saturday on the road in Tennessee. The Tigers 4-6 last year, 3-5 in conference play. They ended their season on a one-game losing streak, if you call it that. The Tigers put up 354 total yards of offense on average last year, averaged 130 on the ground, 233 through the air. They scored 21 points per game, allowed 433 yards. 200 of that was rushing, nearly 230 passing. They also allowed 27 points a game. Coach, as I talked earlier to TJ, not a lot of traveling outside of state. In fact, no traveling outside of state last year. This season, though, a couple of long games. Of course, this first one coming up in Tennessee. This one right here at the start. What is the preparation for travel to games like this, Coach?
Making sure we really discuss the details and that everyone's well-versed on what the itinerary is and where we're going to be staying and eating and what we're going to be wearing and how we just go through all the details. We do it well ahead of time, and then we do reminders. We give them copies. We have them take pictures of it. Just making sure that everyone knows the details. Last year was really an easy logistical year, having just some overnight trips. Going places like Abilene and places like that are pretty routine for us. This year will be very different. We have the flight game, and then we also have to go all the way to Jackson, Mississippi, which would be a long round trip. So it's a little bit more travel. So we've got to be really on top of our logistics. Coach Nick Mask is our new operations director. He stepped into that role, and he's really detailed. That's why I have him in that area. Is he came up through. He's actually the first senior that we had. He was the lone senior in 2015, and then before we had that first full class, he was a team captain. So he's been in a lot of different areas with our program. He's a great young coach. We're expanding his role and what he does with our offense and what he does with our behind-the-scenes stuff. So he has everything, where it needs to be. We truck our equipment. And that's what every football team does. If your starting quarterback loses his luggage, right, and his helmet and shoulder pads don't show up, that can be problematic. So you don't risk it. So our equipment staff, Mike Torres and Kingsley Edward, are going to be leaving shortly after our practice tomorrow morning, and they're going to be trucking everything up. They'll get there early Saturday morning, and we'll have all of our equipment when we get to the stadium. So it's long for everybody. It's long. And our itinerary, as we're flying into Atlanta. So Sewanee is in Sewanee, Tennessee, and there's a 6-mile difference as far as how they're situated relative to Nashville and Atlanta. So really you can pick your airport, and then you look at the price, and then you know you're going to Atlanta. So we're going to go to Atlanta, and then we'll bus to Chattanooga. That'll be our home base for 2 nights. We'll only be in Sewanee for the game. It's a small town, no place to feed 80 people, no place to house 80 people. So Chattanooga will kind of be our hub for 2 nights, and we'll be flying in and out of Dallas.
So no brown bag lunches, in other words, there in Tennessee. You're going to be eating good, right?
Well, yeah, again, Coach Mass did a great job with logistics. He found an Olive Garden to give us a really good price on a buffet. We've got a Golden Corral for breakfast. We've got plenty of places that we can eat. We'll just do pizza post game, and so we've got all that worked out. And TJ knows the itinerary because he's got it memorized, right? He knows we're eating at Olive Garden, and then we're getting Jimmy John's, and then we're going to Golden Corral. The linemen know where we're going to eat at. You don't have to worry about that. But it's all pre-planned. You can't just roll into town and say, where can we feed 80 guys? So it's a little bit different than maybe some teams can do. And you can't eat off the menu because you can't have everyone getting an $11 entree. We've got to negotiate prices and find places where they can fit us, but also get the price down. So there's a lot that goes into moving a football team.
Well, Coach, as we look ahead to this game coming up on Saturday, of course, the Tigers looking to a rebound season. You guys are looking to get an early victory and really take care of business. They closed out the season, talking about the Tigers closing out the season with that loss. You guys on a 2-game winning streak heading into this game going back to last year. What's the overall game plan in this one, Coach?
Well, we're trying to have 10 weeks in a row where we go 1-0, and so this would be just the beginning of that. This is an important game for us because it's our only non-conference game. It's our only tune-up before we go into a really tough 9-game conference schedule. But this game is actually important for our whole conference, and let me put that in context. When the NCAA picks the playoff teams, there's a committee of coaches and administrators for each region, and in the conversation last year, there was debate on whether the second best team from this conference that they're in or Hardin-Simmons, the number 5 team in the country, was better. And we heard about this and we're like, what? If their second place team played Mary Hardin-Baylor, Hardin-Simmons, Southwestern, Texas Lutheran, East Texas Baptist, and Louisiana College, they wouldn't even be in this conversation. So one of the tiebreakers was the fact that we beat Denison pretty soundly, and they won their conference and had an automatic bid to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So when we only get 1 game a week out of conference. Most everyone else gets more of those. So this is a really important week for our whole conference. So we need to play well. It's a head-to-head matchup between a conference that the coaches on the committee last year thought were pretty even. Okay, I don't think so. But it's a really important thing, just taking care of our conference and making sure that our conference is well represented in the national tournament.
Some of the players on that Tiger team that we should keep an eye out for and look at, Coach? Sometimes you don't know week one. You don't have any new film on them. They've got some returning offensive linemen. I think their left tackle is a good player. They played 2 guys at quarterback last year. They moved their number 7, their wide receiver, I'm sorry, I forget his last name, to quarterback the last half of the season, and their starting quarterback from last year is back on the roster. We don't know what his injury was, what his status was, but those are 3 pretty good players on offense. On defense, they return a good chunk of their secondary. Their linebackers are new. So there's a lot when you go into a first game that you don't know as much about personnel. You can't say, this guy or that guy. You kind of just have to be, as Josiah said, you kind of got to go and do you, right? So we're going to try to play within our system and within our style. And I think if we can play our best game, however well we're capable of playing on September 7th, I think we'll be in good shape. Coach, that kind of segues in. If you could wrap it up in as far as keys to victory, how would you word that?
Well, we're going up to avenge our 54-0 loss from 1899.
There you go. Come on.
In 1899, Sewanee had what they claim to be, and a lot of people agree, the best college football team of all time. They went on a 6-day train trip, and in 6 days, they beat 5 teams. They beat Texas.
Wow. They
beat Texas A&M. They beat LSU. Then they beat Tulane and Ole Miss on the last 2 days. Of course, no one will ever do that again, but that's pretty impressive for that era of football. The game before, I think we must have went up there. They beat Southwestern 54-0. So it's 120 years coming, but we're going up there to get revenge for that 1899 team that was one of the best in them.
Years. Come on, man. We're coming for you.
We probably played them since then, but I don't have it all memorized. But I know they beat us 54-0 in 1899 when they had the best college football team. Of course, they wouldn't have beat Clemson or Alabama last year, but for their era, they had the best college football team ever.
Well, as we continue, just a final few questions here as we continue to talk to Coach Joe Austin. Practices this week, how did that go? I know we're first game, but how has practices been leading up to this one?
I think Wednesday was our best practice of the season, which was really good to see. I think our focus was good. It was crisp. It was short, and we were out there maybe an hour and a half because we got things done. We moved from period to period. Guys were where they're supposed to be. So I thought we ended the week really with some really good energy. It's an early practice tomorrow morning because we have to catch our flight. So hopefully 7 a.m. tomorrow we'll be out there. We can get a little bit more work done and just get our bodies moving ahead of the game. But I thought we ended the week really well, and so I feel good about that.
Overall health right now, Coach, on the team?
You've got your normal training camp soft tissue things, just like every college football team and every pro football team has. Our injuries are more self-inflicted right now. I mentioned in the opening we won't be full speed on offense or defense because we had a few lapses in judgment. But overall, I think we're doing pretty okay in the health department.
Awesome. Just a couple of last questions here. This year, talk a little bit about your assistant coaches as we head into this season. Of course, you as the head coach, but you've got a great support cast system around you with your assistants, Coach.
Well, I'm really blessed to say that almost every year it's the same guys. And so Tom Ross is our associate head coach and our offensive line coach. He and I started coaching together in 2004, which is when I also started coaching with Bill Kriesel, who's our defensive coordinator. We started working together in 2004. In 2005, I started working with Kenneth Ebo, who's our recruiting coordinator. But I've known Kenneth even longer than I've known Bill and Tom. We went to high school together. I'm a couple years older than him, but they let him play with the big kids. So he and I got to play together a little bit when I was a senior and he was a sophomore. And we've been coaching together since 2005. And a lot of these guys have moved several times and moved wives and moved kids. And it's been a unique group that's been able to stick together and have the continuity. And along the way, of course, we've added folks. Chad Ellis came in, our special teams coordinator, in our second season, and he's fit in really well. And him and his wife just fit our kind of our coaches group, and they've really been a great addition to what we do. Then we added Nick Mask when he came out of being a player. He transitioned into being a coach, and I mentioned already that his role is expanding as he matures, and I think he's a really good talented offensive coach and just a very smart person. Obviously, I trust all of our logistics to him, so I'm assuming there'll be an airplane for us when we get to the airport tomorrow. I didn't double check it; that's Nick's job, right? So, but I know he's taking care of that. And the newest member of our full-time coaching staff is another player that we brought back, John Bishop, who was one of our starting running backs his sophomore year, and then he had a pretty devastating injury that slowed him down the last couple seasons. But it gave him, I think, a good perspective because when you're standing back a little bit from the field, I think you can see things uniquely. But he's got a lot of great leadership characteristics. He's very smart. So we've retained John now, and he's in the coaching capacity. And we have some really great part-time adjunct coaches. Daryl Jones is our defensive back coach, and Andy Workman works with our offensive line. Chris Cheesy is our linebackers coach. He played at Texas Lutheran. He's got that linebacker mentality. He always wants to put the helmet on and bang his head against stuff. So he's got the mentality you want in your linebacker coach. Donald Williams is our video coordinator, and he's, to me, the unsung hero. Everything works every day. He keeps all the equipment working. He keeps everything up to speed. We always have what we need. It's always loaded fast. He does everything perfect at games. We have great film. And so we're really blessed to have him in that role. And then Kurt Hallett is kind of a behind-the-scenes coach for us. He's very busy with his day job, but he loves to break down film, and he loves to work on some of really anything I ask him to do from an analytical standpoint, logistics standpoint. He'll throw whatever time he has in wholeheartedly. So we have a great coaching staff. And John's the newest coach, but he's been in our program for 5 years, and Nick's been in our program for 7 years now, and Chad's been in our program for 6 years. It's a really blessed and a really unique situation to have the continuity that we've had.
Coach, I've been seeing something come across some of the emails that talks about the Southwestern man. Can you touch briefly on what that is and what that means? It's pretty neat.
Those are our shared team virtues, and they weren't dictated by me. Now, of course, I came in as a head coach and said, here's a lot of our policies. Here's how we're going to do things. But in our second year, when I thought we were old enough to take a mature approach to this, I asked our football team for a volunteer committee to craft our team virtues, who we want to be. And so a group put these together, and actually Coach Mask volunteered to be on that committee. So he helped shape who we are. And so they brought it to the team. Well, first they came to me with this list of 8 virtues, just the 8 words. And I said, what do they mean? So they said, we'll get back to you. So they went back, and I had them define them. And I didn't chat. They may have went to the dictionary. They may have come up with them themselves. But what does it mean? They brought it back to the team, and the team ratified it. And the older players get, the more I think they value that. When they come in and they're in their first year, they're like, okay, do I just need to memorize this, or does this actually mean something? And I think if you were to ask our captains and our seniors, I think they'd be able to tell you exactly what they are and what they mean, and how they tie into what they're doing now, what they do when they're away from football, and then what they're going to do and how they're going to improve their families and their jobs and their communities when they leave Southwestern.
Awesome. Well, Coach, final question here. We appreciate your time tonight. Your overall final thoughts before we wrap up this first Coaches Show of the new season.
Well, I think we're ready to play. We'll find out together. It's always, opening games are always really interesting. Sometimes you don't know who you are yet, and you don't know who your opponent is. They don't know who they are yet. But I think we ended our week really strong. I think we're going to be able to hang our hat on the fact our defense is going to play a strong game, and they should be able to keep us in, just about every week this year. There's a lot of games that we should be able to be the better team just on the strength of our defense. Not that I don't expect our offense to do well, but I think our defense will give them a little bit of a time to adjust and adjust to not having the 6 all-conference players we had last year. And that may be kind of the early storyline is our defense able to play well enough in the first third or first quarter of the season to make sure that our offense can get up to speed. One thing I think is true of all of our football teams is by the end of the year we're pretty darn good and we're pretty tough to play because we keep making constant improvements and we just keep getting better at what we do. So I know we'll be good at the end of the year. Hopefully we'll be good at the beginning and the middle.
Well, Coach, we're looking forward to it. We're excited. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff, correct?
It's 1 p.m. Central.
So it is Central time.
Yeah, part of the logistics is we land in Eastern, we drive across to Central, then we go back to Eastern to stay, and then we have breakfast. So we're crossing the time zone lines a bunch. But yes, the game is 1 p.m. Central.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to it. Carl Schoening will be on that call. Chuck Crazy will be on sidelines, also doing color commentating. So very excited to have Carl involved. Just a very experienced play-by-play man. He'll be subbing out those duties periodically throughout the season with Brad Tillery. So I know you guys are going to be very happy with that. Of course, I'll still be here with all the coaches shows. We'll continue keeping things rolling. But Coach Austin, congratulations on the success so far in the previous seasons. Looking forward to a great season. We appreciate you so much, Coach.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you.
Let's give it up one more time. Round of applause. Head coach Joe Austin. A little bit louder, folks. This is game 1. There we go. Well, again, friends, thanks for joining us for this first edition of SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. We'll have action all right here on SHN Sports. Very simple to get to. Go to shnsports.com/football. Scroll down. You'll find the Southwestern links. Always updated with the latest coaches shows, the latest games, and any content related to Southwestern that we put out will be right there on that playlist. For everyone at SHN Sports, Mickey Holden operating our camera, Nathan Height helping behind the scenes, and Coach Joe Austin, I'm Rob Hipp, reminding you tonight we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. We will see you on Saturday. Go Pirates! Thank you.
Hi, Mom.